topic is pharmacokinetics part 1, which includes absorption and distribution of drugs. Learning objectives under this topic are introduction of pharmacokinetics, what is disintegration and dissolution of drugs, biotransportation of drugs, absorption, bioavailability, distribution, and apparent volume of distribution. So these are all the learning objectives which we are going to discuss in this class. First we will discuss about introduction. So pharmacokinetics is the quantitative study of drug movement in, through and out of the body. The intensity of the response depends on its pharmacokinetic properties. The pharmacokinetic properties of any drug determines the route of administration, dose of the drug, duration of action, and frequency of administration of a drug. So the pharmacokinetics mainly consists of or involves absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion of the medications or drugs. So in this picture, whenever the drug is given orally, so liberation occurs, that is disintegration and dissolution occurs, and after that absorption of the drug through GIT into the blood or systemic circulation, from where it reaches the tissues where the pharmacological effect or effect of the drug will be seen. Some amount of the drug from the systemic circulation may be metabolized and excreted. Liberation of drugs. Liberation of drugs includes disintegration and dissolution. Disintegration means whenever the drug is given through oral route, so before absorption, the drug which is in the form of capsule or tablet should be broken into individual particles to dissolve in the body fluids. So it is disintegration where the drug is broken into individual particles, and dissolution means the particles which are released should dissolve in aqueous gastrointestinal contents and also other body fluids. So both disintegration and dissolutions includes the liberation of the drugs. So before absorption, the drug should disintegrate and dissolute. So whenever the drug is given in the oral form, whether it is a tablet or capsule, so first it disintegrates or release of the drug particles, and these drug particles in the body fluids like intracellular fluids, it undergoes dissolution. So drugs in the solutions get absorbed in the GIT, that is the stomach and the duodenum, and after that from the absorption it may released into the systemic circulation. In the systemic circulation, free drug causes the pharmacological effect, and some amount of the drug will get bound with the bound drug means some amount of the drug get binds with the plasma proteins, and then the effect will be decreased. Some amount of the drug which is absorbed, which doesn't reaches the blood, get metabolized, that is first metabolism occur in the liver, and then from there it is excreted through the kidney. So this is the process of pharmacokinetics whenever we take the drugs. So absorption, so before absorption the drug should undergo disintegration, dissolution, and after absorption it should metabolize. If you give the drug through intravenous route, directly it reaches the systemic circulation and gives the pharmacological effect. So immediate effect will be seen with the intravenous drug administration, but with the oral route it should follow all these steps. So it should disintegrate and dissolute, after that it should get absorbed and then metabolized and excreted. So drug in dosage form, that is, if any drug is given as a oral form in the form of capsule or tablet, it should disintegrate into the body fluids in the form of particles, and then after that it should dissolve in body fluids like intracellular fluids, and after that drug in that solution should get absorbed into the GIT, that is from the stomach and duodenum. So from there it should reach the systemic circulation, and some amount of the drug after absorption reaches liver for the metabolism, which is called as first pass metabolism. So there the metabolism occurs by the microsomal enzymes like cytochrome P450, and the drug which reaches the systemic circulation, some amount of the drug, that is a free drug, causes the pharmacological effect of the drug, and the bound drug which is present will get bind with the plasma proteins. So if the drug binds with the plasma proteins, so the effect will be slow. So the drug which is metabolized in the liver will be finally eliminated through the urine. So if the drug taken through oral route, it should follow all these steps: disintegration, dissolution, and absorption, metabolism, excretion, etc. Suppose if the drug is given through parenteral route, directly it reaches into the systemic circulation or the blood, and therefore the pharmacological effect will be seen immediately. So the duration of action of a drug will be decreased. That is, the immediate effect will be seen with the parenteral route rather than the oral route, because the bioavailability of the drug will be 100% with the intravenous route rather than oral route. Biological membrane is a bilayer of phospholipid and cholesterol molecules. The polar groups of these are oriented at the two surfaces, and non-polar hydrocarbon chains are oriented in the matrix to form a continuous sheet. So this imparts the high electrical resistance and relative impermeability to the membrane. So mainly the biological membrane is a bilayer which is made up of phospholipid and cholesterol molecules. So small molecules, lipid soluble and unionized form of drugs cross all the membranes better than large water soluble or ionized form of drugs. You should remember this point. So always the small molecules, that is the size of the drug molecule should be small, and these drugs should be lipid soluble and in unionized form. Then they were better soluble than that of the large water soluble and ionized forms of the drugs. This is the picture of biological membrane, so which consists of the two layers. One is of phospholipid and another one is cholesterol layer. So this is the bilayer which is made up of phospholipid and cholesterol. So this is the picture of biological membrane, which is a bilayer made up of phospholipid and cholesterol molecules. Biotransportation. So biotransportation is defined as it is the transport of drugs across the biological membranes. So mainly biotransportation of the drugs occurs by passive diffusion. Most of the drugs follow passive diffusion, followed by filtration and also other specialized transports like carrier mediated transport, etc. So different types of biotransportation are passive transport, active transport, and vesicular transport. The passive transport is again divided into passive diffusion, filtration, facilitated diffusion. Active transport includes primary active transport and secondary active transport. where the secondary active transport is of two types, import and antiport. Next is vesicular transport, which includes endocytosis and exocytosis. So these are different types of transports through which the drugs are transferred through the biological membrane for absorption. So first is passive diffusion. So here the drug diffuses across the membrane in the direction of its concentration gradient, that is from higher concentration to lower concentration, where the membrane plays no active role. And also this is the most important mechanism where majority of the drugs follows. The lipid soluble drugs diffuses by dissolving in the lipoidal matrix of the membrane, and the more lipid soluble drug attains high concentration in the membrane and diffuses quickly. So influence of pH over the biotransportation of drugs are, so most drugs are weak electrolytes, that is their ionization is pH dependent. So weak acidic drugs which form salts with cations, example sodium phenobarbital, sodium sulfadiazine, etc., they ionize more at alkaline pH. Weakly basic drugs like atropine sulfate, ephedrine, so they conversely ionize more at acidic pH. Acidic drugs like aspirin are largely unionized at acid gastric pH and are absorbed from stomach, while bases like atropine are largely ionized and are absorbed only when they reach the intestines. The unionized form of acidic drugs, which crosses the surface membrane of gastric mucosa, they reverts to the ionized form within the cell and then only slowly passes to the extracellular fluid. So this is called ion trapping. That is, a weak electrolyte crosses a membrane to encounter a pH from which it is not able to escape easily. So ion trapping means the unionized form of acidic drugs which crosses the surface membrane of gastric mucosa reverts to the ionized form within the cell and then slowly passes to the extracellular fluid. Weak acids are always ionized in basic medium and weak bases are ionized in acidic medium. Next is filtration. Filtration is passage of drugs through aqueous pores in the membrane or through paracellular spaces. So mainly lipid insoluble drugs crosses the biological membranes by filtration if their molecular size is smaller than that of the diameter of the pores. But majority of the cells like intestinal mucosal cells and red blood cells have very small pores, and drugs with molecular weight greater than 100 or 200, they are unable to penetrate. So diffusion of drugs across the capillaries is dependent on the rate of blood flow through them rather than the lipid solubility of the drug or pH of the medium. Facilitated diffusion, where the transporter belonging to the superfamily of SLC transporters like solute carrier transporters, they operates passively without needing energy and translocates the substrate in the direction of its electrochemical gradient, that is from higher to lower concentration. See here in this picture, so from higher to lower concentration, the transporters belonging to the superfamily of solute carrier transporters, they passively moves without needing any energy and translocates a substrate from higher to lower concentration. So merely facilitates the permeation of a poorly diffusible substrate. Best example of facilitated diffusion is GLUT4, that is the entry of glucose into the muscle and fat cells by the glucose transporter GLUT4. Next is active transport, which requires energy and it is inhibited by metabolic poisons and transports the solute against the electrochemical gradient, that is from low to higher concentration. and finally results in accumulation of the substance on one side of the membrane. Active transport it requires energy which is inhibited by metabolic poisons and transports the solute from low to high concentration, and this active transport may be primary or secondary depending on the source of the driving force. Primary active transport, here the energy is obtained directly by the hydrolysis of adenosine triphosphate, and the transporters belongs to the superfamily of ATP binding cassette transporters whose intracellular loops have ATPase activity, and these mediate only efflux of the solute from the cytoplasm either to extracellular fluid or into an intracellular organelle like endoplasmic reticulum or mitochondria. Secondary active transport, in this the active transport is affected by transporters like SLC transporters, which means solute carrier transporters. Here the energy to pump from one solute is derived from the downhill movement of another solute. Best example is sodium. So when the solutes both move in same direction, it is called as symport or co-transport. If they move in opposite direction, it is termed as antiport or exchange transport. Next is vesicular transport, which includes endocytosis and exocytosis. So some substances with very large or impermeable molecules which are transported inside the cell is called endocytosis, or extruded from it is called as exocytosis. So a binding protein which is located on the membrane complexes with a substance that initiates the vesicle formation, and when it releases or when the vesicle detaches from the membrane and remains stored within the cell, or it may release the substance within the cytoplasm. So vesicular transport includes endocytosis and exocytosis. So vesicular transport includes endocytosis and exocytosis. So some substances with very large or impermeable molecules are transported inside the cells called as endocytosis, or extruded from it called as exocytosis. Mainly larger molecules are transported through this transport, and also important or examples for vesicular transport are insulin, neurotransmitters like noradrenaline. So till now I have explained about the biotransportation. So next topic is absorption. So absorption is one of the important factor affecting the pharmacokinetics, or the important division which is included in the pharmacokinetics. So after liberation of the drugs, after taking the drug through oral administration, after disintegration, dissolution and biotransportation, so absorption of the drug occurs in the gastrointestinal tract like stomach and intestine. So going to absorption. So next topic is absorption. So till now I have discussed about liberation of drugs after administration, which includes disintegration and dissolution, followed by biotransportation. So now we will discuss about absorption, which is the first factor or division involved in pharmacokinetics. Absorption is defined as the movement of drug from its site of administration into the circulation, and the rate of absorption is very important. So when given intravenously, it has to cross biological membrane. Absorption is movement of drug from its site of administration into the circulation. The rate of absorption is very important. When the drug is given orally, it has to cross the biological membranes, and the absorption is governed by the different principles, and what are the factors affecting absorption we will discuss. Absorption is movement of drug from site of administration into the circulation. The rate of absorption is very important, and this absorption is governed by so many factors. Important sites of absorption are gastrointestinal tract, that is stomach and duodenum, in the lungs, alveoli, and topical sites like skin, mucous membrane, and cornea of the eye. Factors affecting drug absorption are: first is drug related, so the drug should be smaller in size, unionized, and lipid soluble for better absorption. So always drug related factors we should consider during the absorption are molecular weight, that is size of the drug, and ionization, solubility, whether it is lipid soluble or water soluble, and also formulation. Another factor is patient related. So patient related factors are route of administration, so whether the drug is giving orally or parenterally, gastric pH, so alkaline or acidic, contents of the gastrointestinal tract, if there is any presence of food or other drugs which may lead to drug food interactions or drug to drug interactions, and also surface area and vascularity of the absorbing surface. So these are all the patient related factors which affect the absorption. So acidic drugs like aspirin are better absorbed in stomach, that is in acidic pH, and the basic drugs like atropine sulfate, sodium phenobarbital, they are better absorbed in alkaline pH. And also these acidic drugs are ionized more in alkaline urine. So coming to bioavailability, so bioavailability is defined as, actually it refers to the rate and extent of absorption of the drug from dosage form administered by any route, and it is defined as, it is a measure of the fraction of administered dose of a drug which reaches the systemic circulation in the unchanged form. Always remember, the bioavailability of the drugs given through intravenous route is 100%, but it is less with the oral route, because the drug may be incompletely absorbed from the GIT, or the absorbed drug may undergo first pass metabolism in the intestinal wall or liver, or it may be excreted in the bile. This graph shows time on x-axis and plasma drug concentration on y-axis. So whenever the dose of the drug is increased along with the duration of action, so maximum drug concentration or peak reaches at which level of the drug concentration we should measure, and then the rate and extent of absorption of a drug can be estimated. So this graph shows the bioavailability of a drug. So here red mark is given, where the maximum drug concentration will be seen. So it will be 100% when given through intravenous route, and the time of maximum drug concentration will also be less in case of intravenous administration of a drug, but for oral administration the time of maximum drug concentration will be more. So this picture shows clearly the bioavailability of a particular drug through which route the drug is administered, whether oral or in parenteral route. So next we will discuss about what are the factors which affect the bioavailability of a particular drug. So this figure shows the factors which affects the bioavailability. So what are the external factors, physiochemical factors, pathological factors? So from the first, see, the most important factor which affects the bioavailability are the drug metabolism, membrane permeability, drug transport, protein binding, receptor affinity, gene regulation, protein expression. So these are all the different factors which affects the bioavailability. So membrane permeability, drug transport, followed by drug metabolism, followed by bonded form of drugs, that is plasma protein binding, receptor affinity, gene regulation and protein expression. So these are the different factors which affects the bioavailability to get targeted pharmacological action. Next is distribution. So this is the next factor which is involved in pharmacokinetics after absorption. So distribution, so it is defined as it is a process of a drug leaving the bloodstream and moving into the cells or tissues for its pharmacological response. Once the drug gained access to the bloodstream, it gets distributed to the other tissues, and the concentration gradient, it always will be in the direction of plasma to the tissues, and the extent or rate and extent of distribution depends upon the pattern of tissue distribution, lipid solubility, ionization at physiological pH, and extent of binding to plasma and tissue proteins, presence of tissue specific transporters, and regional blood flow. And this distribution occurs until an equilibrium is established between unbounded drug in the plasma and also tissue fluids. So distribution follows the membrane permeability, plasma protein binding, lipophilicity of drug and volume of distribution. So the extent of distribution always depends upon all these factors: membrane permeability, where the drugs crosses membranes to the effective site of action, and where the drugs bounded drugs which binds with the plasma proteins, they do not cross membranes, so the effect of the drug will be decreased, and the lipophilicity of the drug. So most commonly lipid soluble drugs or lipophilic drugs accumulate in the adipose tissue, and also finally volume of distribution. So all these factors determines the effect of distribution. So plasma protein binding, so always at the drug after absorption and distribution, when it reaches into the systemic circulation, so free form will gives the pharmacological response, but some amount of the drug in the systemic circulation will binds with the plasma proteins. So what is the significance of this plasma protein binding means? So it limits the drug concentration in the tissues and at the site of action also, therefore the effect or response will be less than that of the free form of the drug. Only unbound or free drug is available for the drug action, and also drugs with the similar physiochemical characteristics compete with each other for binding sites, result in drug action. Remember, free drug is always available for the pharmacological response rather than the bounded drug which is binded with the plasma proteins. Next is volume of distribution. So the apparent volume into which a drug must instantaneously distribute in order to result in the extrapolated plasma concentration at 0 time. It means mainly The volume of distribution is defined as it is the ratio of the dose of the drug which is administered intravenously to the plasma concentration of the drug. Volume of distribution, it is the volume that would accommodate all the drug in the body if the concentration throughout was the same as in the plasma. It describes amount of the drug present in the body as a multiple of that contained in a unit volume of the plasma. It is the ratio of the dose of the drug administered through intravenous route to the plasma concentration of the drug. So see here, so volume of distribution is the ratio of the amount of the drug given through intravenous route to the plasma concentration of the drug. It is not only a matter of dilution but also binding and sequestration. And here the drugs appears to distribute as if it is a single compartment, and the magnitude of the drug's distribution is given by this apparent volume of the distribution. So volume of distribution is the ratio of the amount of drug administered intravenously to the plasma concentration of the drug, and it is a volume which accommodates all the drug in the one compartment. The lipid insoluble drugs do not enter the cells like streptomycin and gentamicin, and this distribution is not only the matter of dilution but also binding. And the drugs like diclofenac and warfarin, which are bonded to plasma proteins, are largely restricted to the vascular compartment. If the value of apparent volume of distribution is large, it indicates large quantity of drug is present in extravascular tissue. So if there is a large value of apparent volume of distribution, it indicates larger quantity of drug is present in extravascular tissue. But in case of poisonings, drugs with large volume of distribution are not easily removed by hemodialysis. In case of pathological conditions like congestive heart failure, cirrhosis of liver, they can alter the apparent volume of distribution of many drugs by altering the distribution of body water, permeability of the biological membranes, plasma protein binding, and also by the accumulation of metabolites which displaces the drug from binding sites. And what are the factors which governs this volume of drug distribution are lipid and water partition coefficient of the drug, degree of plasma protein binding, affinity for different tissues, fat and lean body mass ratio, and diseases like congestive heart failure, uremia, and cirrhosis, and also ionization at physiological pH. So these are all the factors which governs the volume of drug distribution. So this finishes the distribution. So class completed. So in this topic, in pharmacokinetics part 1, I have discussed about distribution, biotransportation, absorption. So class completed. So in this topic, that is pharmacokinetics 1, I have explained about disintegration, dissolution of drugs after administration, biotransportation, types of biotransportation, absorption, factors affecting absorption. What is bioavailability? Factors affecting bioavailability. So bioavailability is a question for you. And the next is, after absorption, distribution. So distribution, what are the factors affecting distribution and what is the apparent volume of distribution. So absorption and distribution I have completed in pharmacokinetics part 1. Thank you.